Hi, beauty humans. It's Emily. Welcome to this space, Magdalene Dragoness. If this is your first time ever tuning in, big welcome. This is a great recording to be joining for the first time, as today I am actually sharing a recording that comes from the resource section in my 777 Sisterhood. If you are familiar with the frequency of seven and the ancient esoteric teachings, you know that seven is a Venusian frequency. And the sisterhood is a Venusian sisterhood where we learn to use our physical body as a wand and remember, it's ancient future, remember magia, the magic that was just everyday, ordinary part of life when the majority of society understood the spiritual dimension of life was that which informs the physical realms. You know, back in the ancient world, magic wasn't considered what it is today. And I know some people are fearful and get fearful around the idea of magic. It's my goal to help the future generations and the evolution of peoples on this earth to remember their inherent God-given rights and power and the beauty that it is to have human embodiment, as I truly believe humans are made in the image and likeness of that first source of all creation, that primal source. And so, yeah, I hope you'll enjoy this recording. I think it gives some really beautiful tips. Good morning. Good morning. I just had the coolest encounter. A giant raven was landing on the solar panel of the house that's next door to me. And all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just started squawking so loud. And then it flew right through the trees. I have an apricot tree and an apple tree here in the backyard. It literally flew right through the trees and right over me. And sorry, I didn't know what else I was hearing. It was just incredible. I've never, outside of having this one experience with two other giant ravens, I've never seen ravens that are that big. This thing was huge. So as I was sitting here meditating right before it happened, I was contemplating about whether I should do a recording, and that feels like an absolute yes. Yes, we are in the spirit of magic. So, yatara ish, doi I kyotore ish, tore ish is atare ikyotoro or ash as intore e kyoto a unta inta witai ikitoku or ash itokuro ush ai. I want to begin by saying that it's Sunday morning and the beautiful sun is just breaking over the edge of the Red Butte Cliffs here. In the morning when the sun rises and you have that first little bit of codes coming through, I've read many places and also personally experienced that we have this funny saying in the poetry world of like, where the poets get the news. And obviously the poets don't get the news from the media sources. The poets get the news from nature. And when I went to Avalon and traveled there, I recommend that any person go and travel to Glastonbury and spend a week in Avalon, and simply to meet all of the interesting people you'll be led to meet. I had the, synchronous, just like, how did that happen type of meetings with people there. And I know that each and every person would have that same exact experience as they travel to that magical land and, weave and go into all the different places and sites that they're called to go to at the certain times they're called to go. You will have these chance encounters, these beautiful one-of-a-kind meetings with people that you're supposed to meet. And so I just want to first say that. And second, I want to say that there is a spirit of magic in that land that I'm very lucky and blessed because I feel that I did the proper ordering of going to Ireland first and getting to travel all through the Irish hillside and the Irish coast and really feel that Druidic Ireland magic. And then I traveled to Glastonbury post that. And for example, different cities in the UK are settled by different peoples. And so like Bath is more of a Roman settlement, whereas Glastonbury is more of that Irish Druidic settlement. And the energy there that you feel of the Magdalene, of the just the Christed energy that you feel at the Tor. The Tor is so fascinating to me because they say, and I did feel myself, that Archangel Michael presides over the Tor, and the Tor is put on one of the largest ley lines, one of the biggest crystalline grid dragon ley lines that runs through this energy field. It's also very close to where you can go to Stonehenge and see Stonehenge. I also had an incredible raven encounter at Stonehenge, and this is a side note, but I met an old boyfriend that I was not expecting. It was so weird to just see an old boyfriend at Stonehenge, but I was like, okay, I can see that was soul destined, because why in the world would we end up at Stonehenge at the exact same moment in time? And so that was interesting. But in Glastonbury is when I finally clicked and realized that the Druid people see art and artwork, poetry, song, dance, painting, drawing, weaving. I mean, there's so many types of art. Having gone to art school is just like one of the most fascinating things to witness, all of the different creations that people are coming up with. There was this girl in my art school who was gold, you know how you can gold leaf things? She was walking around the streets of Chicago and gold leafing where people had spit out gum on the sidewalk. And then if you've ever seen, like, it will make that dark kind of mark on the road or the sidewalk. And then she would sit there for hours and she would finely tune gold leaf all of these like gum gooey spills. And she was literally making the city more beautiful and just like enhancing it with gold. And I think in art school was where it really came full circle for me, that the power of art, and also that to do art just requires that you do art. It's just the difference between the artist and the ordinary person is that the artist chooses to actually go out and bring some inspired, unique, original idea that they have in their mind and bring it into this dimension, this earthly dimension. And when I was in Glastonbury and I realized that the Druidic people see the arts as the most magical things. And I had already had this epiphany when sitting with the elementals and working with them, that the trees, the fairies, they care less when you give them an offering that nature made. So by this I mean, if you say you're going to go give an offering to the fairies as you're working with the cultivation of building the relationship and the metaphysical connection to that particular elemental. But say you bring the fairies roses, the fairies will be way less impressed if you bring them an offering of roses or an offering of herbs or an offering of something that nature has grown. The fairies will be way more impressed if you bring them something that you have created. And that doesn't mean you can't use the roses and say create a beautiful fairy dust and pour some intention and thought and all of the amazing energies into the making of that, and then go deliver it to them in their natural habitat. However, they would love a poem that you write. They would love you to sing with your voice to them. They would love you to create something and then deliver that to them. That means more to these elementals than just bringing nature something that nature grew. So keeping this in mind, we can start to see that as the Avalonian essence is asking us to really become creators, creatives, and to channel our inspiration into things, nouns, like make nouns, persons, places, or things, like to be so creative at the level of like we bring something from no thing, and we, through the process of our ingenuity and our own ideas, we actually bring something to this earthly plane. And I feel like I never would have understood the magic of that process had I not gone to Glastonbury and met the very few incredible key people that I met. One of the people that I was called to go visit there in Glastonbury, his name is Ted the Viking. And he's passing on his grandfather's, it's like very, very ancient druidic energy. And when he gives you runes, you can buy runes from him, but he doesn't finish the runes. He explained to me that it was up to me to take these runes and to finish them, to sand the edges of the wood, to oil the wood, to make them my own. And then he has this giant hammer mallet thing, this Thor tool, and he puts it over the runes and he does this an amazing blessing. It was really just incredible to understand that this wise man was willing to give me a magical tool, but wouldn't allow it to be magical until I, Emily, took the steps to put my own time and effort and consciousness and intention and thought into making the runes my own. And I think this is an important thing we can really talk about: the creation of magical tools, the creation of making our own wands. I've made many wands because the universe, nature, has blessed me with opportunities to make wands from amazing trees. Too much snow breaking a branch, and me being willing to tromps out in the snow and get the branch and to bring it inside and to carve it down and to dry it and to oil it and all the things that go into that. Also, one day, these ancient oaks, I couldn't even believe it. My neighbor had just decided that they were going to just chop down all their oaks, and it was really upsetting to me to watch this happen. But I was just like, okay, this is happening. The universe is doing this. And so I went over and I asked the guys who were cutting the trees down to cut some really beautiful pieces for me, and I was able to make these beautiful oak wands. And I believe that when we allow ourselves to work with what nature is giving us in any way that it's giving it to us, I love when the pine cones in the middle of summer, they start to fall because it's getting a little bit too hot. It's really lovely to meditate with a very, very fresh pine cone on your third eye, especially those ones that have the flat bottoms that balance. One, the pine cone holds the phi or phi ratio, the golden ratio, and also the pine cone is a symbol of the pineal gland and the pine pineal gland. And so phenomenal, just phenomenal meditations. This happens around July or August, where the pine cones really start dropping in the mountain towns where I've lived. But I really suggest that we allow ourselves to work with nature as nature is giving us things. So different times, fruits will blossom and fall. In spring, I love to collect blossoms and to make fairy dusts with those fallen blossoms. And just knowing that everything we need, we have. This is something I know you've heard it in here before. If you haven't heard it yet, you're going to hear it many times, but we have what we need. We do not need anything that society is convincing us that we need. We actually have the resources we need through our fingertips, through our hands, through our tongues, through our nose, through our ability to breathe, through our sense organs, through our connection to Pachamama, through our connection to the pure crystalline elementals, through our connection to the cosmos and the cosmic planetary influences, to all of the energies that the music of the spheres, the organization of the planets is constantly giving to us. We are able to step into these most magical lives, and we don't need to have $1 million in the bank to get started. We just simply need to acknowledge the beauty and the wonder that is already here and take that time to build the connection and relationship to the elemental world and the angelic orders. And no one can take that away from us. When we are sovereign, when we have reclaimed our inner authority, and we believe we're creative, we believe we're artists, because so much of my work with Poem, and I feel like I am more than ever feeling inspired to go back to the business that I had created, Poem Spiritual Poetics, and keep encouraging people to really tap into their ability to be creative outside of what you may think is traditionally creative. Like, I really don't believe you need to be some incredible painter to get a canvas and to get some paint and to flow colors. Color therapy is just so healing for us. And we were taught that we need to have all of this expertise and education. And I'm speaking of this personally, I feel like growing up, it was like, no, you need to get certified for this. You need to get a degree for this. You need to, have all of these like black belts, like in karate, I think it's true too. I want to say that we need to hold paradox and duality. I have seen great benefit from deep study of things, and all things that are done with devotion and practice over time and cultivated into our unique craft and our unique form of magic. That is how we become great at something. Absolutely, time and devotion is needed, but we don't need it from an institution outside ourselves. We don't need it from something outside of ourselves. It's simply an inner journey and an inner practice to understand ourselves as living masters who are creative beyond measure and who are literally the captain of our ship and the captain of our seas, because it's so great to be the captain of our ship, but it's even more incredible to be the captain of our seas. And yeah, that feels like the end of this transmission, but I think it's an important one, and I hope that it has inspired you deeply. Sending so much love to all of you beautiful sisters, sending so much love to the community that we're building here, and saying thank you deeply to each and every one of you. Thank you for listening all the way to the end of this recording. If you receive something from this, feel free to give it a thumbs up, leave a comment, share it with a cool, magical sister or friend. And I want to add one more amazing story about being given a wand, more like a staff in all actuality. I don't know, a few weeks after I had my Kundalini awakening, a lightning bolt came down and struck an oak tree in my front yard. And that has never happened, ever. Not before or since that moment. And I was given this huge piece of wood that you could actually see the burn where the lightning had burnt. It was a miracle. It didn't catch the tree on fire or anything. It just struck a tree. And when I asked this piece of wood, the staff that was been hit by lightning, what its name was. I'm trying to think if I want to share what the name was. Well, the name meant the strength of God, the strength of God. And the journey that ensued after, I needed the strength of God with me in some of the moments and points. And I feel so blessed that the universe gave me this incredible staff. And if you look online, what it means to receive a wand that has been hit by lightning, it is a very powerful thing. Anyhow, I share that story to encourage you to let nature bring things to you and to let nature inform you. And every time I'm alone and I'm in the mountains or I'm on the beach or wherever I am on this earth and I am working with the elements, I will get the coolest synchronicities coming from the natural world. And I believe when you get those synchronicities from nature herself, that it is really, really important to pay attention and to heed what you are being given as a gift and a blessing. Because there have been times where I have received, you can't make it up, it's just like unbelievable, beautiful, natural synchronicities, and then not followed the information I was being given. And I do have a regret on this one particular time that I received what I would call just an unheard of magical event. And I chose not to follow what nature had given me. And the reason I chose not to follow it totally was because of fear. It was fear for the reason I didn't take the inspired action that nature had given me. So, but now, I'm also glad that I've learned that lesson, but I pass that on as a little extra wisdom that if nature gives you a sign, follow that advice, because there is a undeniable intelligence of pure magia that comes from the natural world. Many blessings. I hope you have a beautiful day. If you like this recording and you would like to be a part of my 777 sisterhood, I don't actually know the next time I'm going to teach it. I do it completely based on when the goddess calls, and I just finished a previous round of teaching. So it will be at least a year, if not 18 months before I start again. However, in the interim, if you'd like to get on the wait list, or you'd like to get on the email list, or you would like to send in an application, because I can only accept about 22 women. That's about as much energy as I feel I can safely and beautifully hold, at least at this point in my empathic. Yeah, I just think that's as large. That actually feels too large. But it's usually a small group and it's really special. And I think if you feel the call, you would love it. And I know that this recording will be living on the internet. So whenever you're finding this, check and see when the next date is. And if I don't have a date posted, it's just because I don't know. The way that my intelligence and intuition works, I have to flow with. I can't plan too far in advance, is all I'm trying to say. So anyways, check it out if it's of interest. Love you much. Hope you're having a great day.